Hello everyone, Konstantinos here. I'm a full stack developer, and today I'm going to improve my progressive web application built with Solid.js and Firebase services. Let's start from a plan. For today I prepared the list of tasks I need to do. First, I'd like to connect Typesaurus library with Firebase application configuration. Next, I would like to improve vertical balance on mobiles for the application, meaning that I need to adjust styles a little bit. I'd like to introduce loading state for buttons, authentication button and subscription button, because there is room for improvement there. So let me start from something relatively easy. Connecting Typesaurus library with Firebase application through the application name. I actually asked the author of the Typesaurus library a couple of questions after my last video. First, I asked how to connect the Firebase application object with the library, how to pass it into library, etc. And second, I asked if it's possible to check whether a record, a document exists in the database through exists method or not. In fact, Sasha answered right away, and first he said that so I don't need exists method because I can use the get method, which actually returns null if the database record is not found. So I don't need to change any code according to this recommendation because I'm already using it this way. So, and the second question is answered here. Sasha provided a documentation page, a link to documentation page where he explained how to connect the library with the Firebase application object. And in fact, it's possible to pass the application name to the schema function and also pass the same application name to the initialize app, which is used for initializing Firebase application settings. And so let me switch to code. Here I can find my configuration folder. I don't actually store Firebase configuration, this kind of Firebase configuration in the config folder. I use core Firebase folder for storing all the Firebase related settings, except constants, of course. So here I have initialize app function call, which can actually accept the second param. The second param should be string and it should be application name. Let's call it Ashtanga Moon. Yeah, made a typo here. Ashtanga Moon. Yeah, I actually, to be able to reuse this name and not make any mistakes, I'd like to move this application name to my config files. I have actually human readable application name here already. I'm going to introduce a new constant here and call it app machine name, which would store this machine name for the application. Just a second, I'm gonna copy it from here to here. Yep, and then use this constant instead of a plain string here. Need to import it here. Good. Now I need to instruct the Firebase Typesaurus library, not Firebase Typesaurus, just Typesaurus library, what application to use, by also passing passing the application name to the schema function as the second option, and second option should be an object, and this object has a field called app, and the value will be app machine name, which I just created. So if I save it, yeah, the file is how to say, reformatted. Everything should be good. I can close this and I can close that. Good. Now I'm going to run emulators suite, and I'm going to run application build. It normally takes a few seconds to do it, so let's wait for a little bit. So ideally, after this change, the application should remain functioning the same way as before, but now we explicitly mentioned the application name, meaning that if we have one more Firebase configuration, I don't know, for whatever reason, we can actually be safe here. Because if they don't mention the application name explicitly here, then the Firebase is using default application name, and Typesaurus library will also use default application name, which is risky if you have a couple of applications inside the same package, the same project. So this way we should be safe. Let me see if the emulator started. Yes, emulator started. I can close everything that I don't need anymore and open the app in the browser just to check that everything is working the same way. To make sure, I'm going to clear site data here, reload the page, and try to sign in. Create a new user and sign in. So now I'm going to subscribe. I successfully subscribed. I will reload the page. It shows that I've subscribed. I can unsubscribe, reload the page, and yeah, it shows that I'm unsubscribed, and which is good. You can actually subscribe and keep it subscribed for now. So next, I'm going to improve the how the application looks on mobile. I will remove this bar, the emulator bar, which actually breaks the flow, breaks the view. So here you may see that at the top we have twice as large space, free space, than at the bottom. I want to make this the same, so I'm going to go to my code, going to close everything that I don't need anymore, open components folder, and take a look at the styles. So in the styles for the desktop media query, I actually set the margin, the top margin, to 0 on the stop. That's why on the stop we have the same space here at the top and the same as at the bottom. So, but for mobiles, actually I set it to larger, so I set it to 1.5 RAM. I can actually remove this. I don't need it anymore here, and I can actually remove it from the desktop styles as well, because it doesn't make sense to set it 0. It's already 0. Let me reload the page and see what changed. Yeah, you see the Ashtanga Moon actually moved, title moved to the top, so it should be better, should look better. At least for now. It's let me remove the bar to show you the final state. So yeah, it should be okay, but Yeah, I will probably want to improve it a little bit more later. So for now we are good. One more thing I'd like to do today is I will show you, please pay attention to the button. When I reload the page, okay, it's hard to see here. Let me switch to desktop. Yes, and now pay attention to the button. When I reload the page, you see it goes through all states. First, sign in, then subscribe, and only when the application received the subscription status, it shows that I'm subscribed. So allows me to unsubscribe. Yeah, it's not ideal. So user sees all these states, and especially when you are working with production database, production Firebase services, this process goes a little bit slower, so user can actually grasp and see the different button states. I'd like to improve that. So for that, let me go to the code and actually open components. I need components, subscribe component, I need authentication component. You see here that we display sign in button if user not authenticated, but it also catches the state when we don't yet receive authentication status from Firestore. So we need to be able to check that third state of this user signal. The third state meaning that we don't know yet that whether user authenticated or not. We need to wait for a while. So I'm going to adjust the context I created for use of for authentication. This context has a signal, one signal. So I'm going to make it possible to be undefined, and the default state will be undefined. And here, when we check for authentication, I can actually instruct this condition to not catch undefined this way. So, and moreover, I can actually introduce one more show component and check for the undefined status here. So here it should be some sort of a loading component. Let me keep it simple for now. And if only we receive the authentication status from Firestore, only then we can render the child component, which actually displays sign in button or not. So this approach should work better. I will probably need to check other components which utilize the user signal, to make the condition more strict in other cases as well. But for now, let me just reload the page and see. I can actually catch the loading state. The loading state is actually rendered, which is good. What if we actually extract this component to a separate component to improve its styles? Loading tsx, okay. Const loading return, and this not this one. This component should be returned. Export default loading. Okay. No, it's not loading. And now we can actually use the new loading component from here. So what I'd like to do also, I'm gonna actually check the padding at the top and at the bottom of the sign in button, because I wanna make the loading component the same height as the button, to not see any glitches, etc. So let me find the styles for the button. Yeah, we can use these styles for the loading component. Here I'm gonna create a loading CS module, CSS, and actually assign the styles to the loading class, which I'm going to use from the component. Okay, import styles from loading module. Okay, and now the class is gonna be styles loading. Okay, not camel case, just should be enough. Okay, yes, let's see what happens. Hard to see. To see it better, I'm gonna disable the subscribe control for now, just to test the loading button, the loading component. Okay, action panel. I need to go to action panel and comment out subscribe control for now. Reload the page, and you see that first loading state appears and then disappears, but when it disappears it should be replaced with the subscription button, so it's by design. I think we are gonna be good with what I've just did. So let's assume the authentication control is good enough. We have a loading component which we can actually reuse for subscription, for subscribe control. Because with subscribed control we have the same problem. The problem is that we display the subscribe button as a fallback for cases when we don't yet know the subscription status. We shouldn't display this button. We should display loading component instead. Okay, and to do that, I'm gonna use loading component here, and this whole show branch inside my new show. And here I need to use use of hook to get the user. Okay, I need to import loading as well. And here, user, I'm going to compare the user with undefined. So if it's undefined, we display loading indicator. If it's defined already, so if the already have a logged in user, we can actually go down and check the subscription status. But until then, we cannot do it. And moreover, we need to check the subscription. We need to compare the subscription status with undefined as well. I know it's not ideal to do this way, but at least I don't. In this case, I won't need a separate signal for loading state. So it's not a criminal, but yeah. And the state is the default state is undefined. So the default subscription status is undefined. And here I can actually check the subscription with against the undefined, and here against and here I can check it as boolean. So I can do something like this: true is subscribed, true. Then I display the unsubscribe button. If subscribe false, I display the subscribe button, and I don't display any of these buttons if they've not yet received the status of the subscription from Firebase. So yeah, and here on mount we also request subscription status, and here we need to check whether user is authenticated or not, because otherwise we can receive some issues. So let's check the user here. If it's undefined, then we return from this hook. So yeah, it should be a little bit better. Let's try and reload the page. Yeah, you see the loading status. We can only see the loading status, and then right away unsubscribe button, which is more precise. Let me unsubscribe and reload the page again. Yeah, loading and subscribe button. This is what's expected. Now let's reset the authentication. I'm gonna clear the site data, all the cookies, etc. So you see, when I reload the page, I see loading indicator, and then I see the sign in button, which means that we don't display any button until we received status from Firebase. Let me log in again, just to make sure to check the entire flow. Yeah, and yeah, now we have subscribe button. Actually, I want to test it one more time. Not sure I caught it. Sign in, and now it's gonna be loading, and when we received subscription status from backend, we display subscribe button, which is good, which is what I wanted to achieve. Now I can subscribe, reload the page, clear site data. I don't think we will see unsubscribe button, because when we clear site data, we actually reset the token, so it won't be preserved. Yeah, but now it's much better from my point of view, at least. Yeah, good. So let me summarize what I've done today. Today I've connected Typesaurus library with Firebase application object. I improved a little bit vertical balance on mobiles, improved styles of the header to make it fit better. And I actually introduced loading state for buttons, for authentication and for subscription buttons, which made my application even better. Next time I'm going to come up with some more improvements, and yeah. Thank you very much. See you next time.